Jason Mewes is taking the spotlight again in 2019 with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, as well as his directorial debut, Madness and the Method. But it hasn't always been lighthearted fun in the life of this actor, filmmaker, and podcaster. His rise and fall and rise again is a remarkable story, and he was kind enough to tell us about it.
Come, son of Jarrell! Kneel before Sod! Snitchy boochies!
While Mewes cracked audiences up with his drug-related antics in the movies of hometown friend Kevin Smith, he spent what should have been the best years of his career falling increasingly into addiction. Even as he shined on screen, substance abuse was quietly causing damage in his life, endangering his safety and derailing his career. Fortunately, Mewes was able to turn the tables on his addictions in the early 2000s, starting a process of sober living that is continued to this day. According to Smith, the silent Bob to Mewes' Jay, Mewes was born the son of a heroin abuser and spent most of his childhood raised by an aunt while his mother fed her Jones or spent years in jail. Despite this, Mewes was essentially living a straight-edge lifestyle when Smith first met him, free of booze, drugs, and even romance. Things can change pretty fast when you're a teenager, though, and when the time came to shoot Clerks, Mewes had morphed into an enthusiastic drinker and pot smoker and essentially played himself in the movie.
Here is a dude who was just like, I don't know if I could say these things. I'm like, dude, you do say these things.
Yeah, smoking clerk.
And how many times have I told you not to be dealing in front of the store?
I'm not dealing, man. What are you talking about? You got anything, man? Yeah, what you want?
But while the scumbag lifestyle came off as funny on screen, the real-life Mewes was on a dangerous path. The success of Clerks left Mewes living a kind of dual life. He had a foot in the film industry, but wasn't making or saving a ton of money. When filming Wrapped, he'd go back to working regular jobs.
I came home from Mallrats, I started delivering pizza and doing construction with my buddy. And then I did Chasing Amy, and I went back to the delivering pizza and doing construction and stuff. So I worked a regular job for years. It really wasn't until after Dogma that I stopped working construction and delivering pizza.
But as Mewes' star continued to rise, his drug use was becoming more problematic, especially as he shifted away from weed and beers toward more addictive substances, heroin, cocaine, and even crack. When Mewes began shooting heroin, Smith began working to get Mewes off the opiates. He gave him rides to methadone clinics, where the recognizable duo drew stares. As Smith would later put it, stoners are cute, junkies are sad.
He thinks just because he don't say anything, it'll have some huge impact when he does open his
Chris,
mouth?
why don't you shut up?
Mewes is clear that it wasn't Hollywood pressure that made him dip further into using drugs.
Like, I started using drugs in Jersey. It's like, it definitely isn't a Hollywood thing. It definitely isn't a movie thing or anything. I mean, I definitely feel I've started drinking, if anything, more. But that was more just because I wanted to, like, go out, and there's lots of fun clubs.
As Mewes put it, in the film industry, opiates and heroin and painkillers and stuff is taboo, which allowed Mewes to keep the extent of his drug use private. On screen, he was serving up the goods, and if he was falling asleep on set in the middle of takes while shooting Dogma, well, audiences didn't notice.
You can't just go around breaking people's hearts like that. I fell in love with you. We fell in love with you. Guys like us just don't follow the sky, you know?
According to Kevin Smith, Mewes' drug usage had reached dangerous friendship-testing levels by the time Dogma wrapped. On top of nodding off on set, he was acquiring track marks and damaging his teeth. He once reportedly rolled his truck through a traffic stop while under the influence, colliding with the car of an off-duty police officer. He was arrested for heroin possession in New Jersey after being stopped by police for driving around with a deployed airbag, an incident which was later used for yucks in a scene in Clerks 2.
You're driving around with deployed airbag?
After Dogma, circumstances would occasionally compel Mewes to check into rehab programs, leaving him off drugs for brief periods of time. But the drugs remained a fixation, to the point where his next movie almost didn't happen. During the pre-production of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, a blow-up between Mewes and Smith nearly resulted in the movie being canceled in pre-production. As Kevin Smith tells the story, it would be better to cut their losses than risk having Mewes fall off the wagon while the movie was being shot. The director recalls that he told Mewes, "You can do all the dope you want now because we're stopping the movie." For fans of the stoner duo, the whole episode is a bracing dose of reality. While the movie may have been lighthearted,
why do they call you knocker?
Actually, there's a funny story behind that. You're gonna love this. True story.
the backdrop of its production was not. According to Smith, Mewes stayed clean during shooting but was back to using opiates within hours after shooting his last scene. During the months of post-production, while Smith was busy finishing the movie, his on-screen partner reportedly lost 30 pounds as a result of smoking crack. After resuming his drug usage, Mewes was caught having heroin mailed to a hotel during a strike-back press junket, and was also caught stealing money from Smith. In New Jersey, a warrant was issued for his arrest after he failed to show up for a court date, violating the probation he was on after his previous arrest. All of these factors led Smith to decide against casting Mewes in his sixth film, Jersey Girl, which was mostly shot around their hometown of Highlands, New Jersey. Shut out of production and knowing he'd be arrested if he ever returned home, Mewes decided to face his problems head-on and surrender. Mewes' return to New Jersey to face the authorities was accompanied by an all-time indicator of a man living on the edge, a short-lived rumor that he had died. Instead of being locked away immediately, Mewes was given a choice: a year in jail or 6 months of rehab. He chose rehab.
It wasn't like I stepped away from everything to be like, hey, I need to clear my head from being in the Hollywood spotlight or on the town or something. It was literally just like, hey, I need to try to take care of this problem I have, and I don't know how to do it besides going to turn myself into the New Jersey court systems or what have you, and just trying to and I just sort of fell off the map.
It turns out, falling off the map was exactly the thing he needed to turn things around. More than 4 years into Mewes' efforts at going sober, he fell victim to a common pitfall feared by many recovering heroin users: legally prescribed opiates.
It's not even like I went out and chased it. I had gotten hurt, and I got a shot of Demerol for the pain, and that sort of sparked the whole thing back. Oh, I remember that feeling and I miss it. I relapsed again, and Kevin was like, you were doing so well, you had 4 years, over 4 years. What happened? I wasn't accountable to anybody or talking to anyone.
Mewes realized he needed to be accountable to something more than just himself. Talking to Smith about his struggles, the idea came up to essentially keep the conversation going indefinitely and invite the public to listen in.
Well, I wanted to do a podcast, and I was like, he's like, what do you want to do the podcast about? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, why don't we talk about what you're thinking every day, and this way you're accountable to people who are listening and watching.
The ensuing podcast, Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, went on to produce over 200 episodes. According to Mewes, the show is over, at least for now, giving way to the obligations of the touring Reboot Roadshow, as well as Mewes' own Twitch channel.
Oh yes, you snake, huh? Yes, baby!
For Mewes, the podcast was a constant reminder of the commitment he'd made to sobriety, and a way to connect with fans all around the world going through the same struggles. Much like the movies he's most famous for, it was an experience that brought moments both profane and surprisingly profound.
Who would have thunk that we literally went 7 years and we toured to Australia and London and all that stuff, and that was Jay and Silent Bob Get Old.
Outside of the podcast and keeping busy with work, Mewes says he's making his continuing sobriety work with the help of a caring support system, which includes his family and friends who aren't shy about keeping him accountable.
A friend who's like, hey man, you've been sober 2 years and you're really addicted to drugs, not booze. You can have a beer, you can have one beer. That to me isn't again, he might be it might be a friend, but not really. So that to me was a big deal, surrounding myself with people who knew no, I can't have a beer because then I'll be smoking crack in a month and I'll disappear.
Whatever he's doing, it seems to be working, and he's been sober for more than 9 years.
You know, sometimes I wish I did a little more with my life instead of hanging out in front of places selling weed and
On top of closing out 2019 by touring with the Reboot Roadshow, Mewes also celebrated a major milestone in his career, directing his first movie. The film, Madness in the Method, was released in theaters and on demand in August 2019. The premise of the movie revolves around a world much like the real one, with Mewes playing a twisted version of himself.
Everyone plays themselves, but like a multiverse version of themselves.
The movie follows Jay as he attempts to break out of the more stoner-style roles he's had a tendency to be typecast in. Less true to life is how he accomplishes this goal, following the unorthodox advice from a mysterious book on method acting to unexpectedly effective results. Stepping into the role of director didn't just fulfill a lifetime goal for Mewes, it also demonstrated just how many of his peers in the film industry have come to care about him over his long and charmed career.
So it was really nice because when we reached out to Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher, Jaime Camille, everyone hey, listen, we don't have a lot of money, but Jay Mewes is directing his first movie. Is there any way? And they came and was part of the movie because they're like, we want to be part of that. If he's going to be directing for the first time, we want to be part of his directing debut. So that was really, really nice.
Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.